So how's it going, people? And after the last video, I promised in my budget analysis video that I will be making a video on explaining the defense budget and the defense procurement soon. So here it is. Today I'll be discussing all the expected Indian defense deals that are supposed to be happening in 2026, which is either imports or it is domestic development, and what is not expected this year because there has been some misinformation going around as well. So let's get straight into it and let's not waste time. So firstly, the budget, it has been at today's rate. I am recording this video on February 5th. So the budget presented on February 1st and as of February 5th is around $87.5 billion, including all the pensions, the R&D, the administration budget. Or otherwise in Indian rupees, it is 7.85 lakh crore. And that is a 15.19% increase over the budget estimates last year. So two budgets happen. Firstly, the one you present on February 1st, which is the budget estimates, because when you are running a country at that large scale, you do not know how much income you are going to spend. So the budget is fixed at this, that they have decided to spend at least this much. It could be a little lower or it could be a lot higher than that, provided the government has the money for this. So this is just an estimate. That is how budgets work. Maybe I'll make a video one day in the future that how budgets actually work. So the allocation amounts to around 2% of India's GDP, which I believe is pretty low. It should at least go to 2.5 to 3%, considering the threats we are having from China, Bangladesh, Turkey. Turkey is like not really going to come in here, but they are funding Pakistan and Bangladesh a lot. And Myanmar also, terrorism has been rising. Nepal is pretty unstable, and let's not even talk about China. And the United States in itself has become a threat, even though the Indo-US trade deal has recently happened. I will make a video on that once the documents have been signed. So 1.85 lakh crore is this year this year the capital acquisition budget is 2.2 lakh crore. I'm really sorry that I wrote it wrong there. 1.85 lakh crore was last year's capital expenditure, and this year it is 2.2 lakh crores. So let's just discuss quickly what import deals are to be concluded this year. So firstly, 114 Rafale. I have made a video on that. My first video was on that only. So this boosts IAF capabilities drastically. It will add 6.5 additional squadrons into the Air Force. Air Force is suffering a lot, as I talked in my last video, that HAL has been delaying Mach 1 Tejas Mach 1 deliveries, which the order book is for 10 squadrons. So if they would have delivered on time, we could have had 10 squadrons by 2030, which would have fixed the numbers problem, but they haven't. So IF has to import Rafales. It is expected to be around $35 billion. 90 of them are supposed to be the F4 standard and 24 are supposed to be an F5 standard, which are on option. Not necessarily we'll procure the 24, but if needed, we will give an order for those as well at the same cost that we are going to sign the deal at. Indian missiles are to be integrated on the Rafale along with the source code for the fire control system, so that we can integrate our own missiles, our own threat libraries later on. We will not get the full radar source code. That will not happen. Obviously, no country will give you that. And then the domestic production for the entire aircraft and the M88 engine will be opened in India along with the MRO facility. And in fact, the MRO facility for the M88 engines have already been opened in India. Next is the 6 Boeing KC-767 MRTT aerial refuelers. So this was cleared last year in itself, but now the Cabinet Committee on Security has also given clearance. So this deal is expected to be signed sometime this year, probably mid of this year, and it is a contract given to the Israeli aerospace industries. They have come out as the lowest bidder to convert 6 ex-civilian KC-767s into KC-767s. So this will be a one-on-one replacement for the IL-78 MKI tankers that we're using. They are 25 years old. They have a lot of operational problems. They are not, Russia is not able to supply parts on time. They are very expensive to operate, in fact. So this is going to be a one-on-one replacement and not an addition to the IL-78 fleet. However, 18 more tankers are projected to be added later on as a separate contract. So that could be either the Airbus A330 MRTT, or that would either be the KC-46 Pegasus, or it could be again some more KC-767s. We are not aware at the time what the IF is planning towards, but tanker fleet is expanding as China is rapidly expanding its YY-20 fleet, and India needs tankers for long range operations for both the Air Force and Navy. Even though the Air Force will operate the tankers, the Navy also requires them in case of operations. Next is 6-8 P8I Poseidons. This was done yesterday at the time of recording, at least, that there was news coming out that after the Indo-US trade deal has been signed, 6 additional P8Is are being pushed towards. So earlier the deal was quoted to be around $4 billion, but now it is around $3 billion, which is still an increase of almost 100% from the original 2016 deal. But then again, the Indian Navy needs these because Pakistan is going to induct the AIP enabled Hangar class submarines soon, even though we are also moving towards a deal for AIP subs. But with increasing Chinese nuclear attack submarines presence in the Indian Ocean, it is very important that we have a good anti-access area denial network, and for that the Indian Navy is requesting 6 more P8I Poseidons from the Indian government, and the deal is expected to be signed pretty soon. The negotiations have been going on for a long time. So the 4 landing platform dock, this year last year it was cleared. On September 23rd, the Indian Cabinet Committee on Security gave a go-ahead for 4 landing platform docks of around 40,000 tons or more of displacement, which is insane. That is a light carrier at best. Now, I'm not sure if it will include a ski jump, a STOBA system to actually operate aircraft from, but they will operate heavy lift helicopters. They will most likely operate airborne early warning helicopters. They will have space to carry around 1,000 to 1,500 personnel plus 40 tanks, because that is in that size you can easily carry those. And they might, if they are looking at the future proofing it, they might even try to have something to operate the Ghatak UCAVs, a naval version of or something similar to the Ghatak UCAV from the LPDs. So that also kind of confirms that if the Navy is looking to purchase 4 LPDs that are almost the size of the aircraft carrier, the Vikrant, then they are likely to procure future aircraft carriers as super carriers. They're not going to buy the small ones anymore, although they might give a repeat order of Vikrant as was spoken by the Indian Navy. Not necessary, we do not know about that, but the deal is for 80,000 crores, that is around $9.5 billion. It's very expensive, so one LPD would be around $2.5 billion. Again, very expensive, but it is needed. It has been long due. India does not have good amphibious warfare capability as of now. Next is the 5th generation fighter. So with the Indo-US trade deal clearing, the talks again, there has been a lot of chatter that the F-35 is again coming to India. I do not think that it is coming to India, but the IAF and Defense Secretary has made it clear that they want an interim 5th generation fighter to be procured before AMCA. So AMCA, I discussed about it in the last video as well, how a private company is supposed to get the contract for the prototype development. Now the Su-57E is something I believe that is more likely to come in. Although at this point, the threat of the CAATSA sanctions, if you buy Su-57s, almost gives it an equal level that either the Su-57 will come or the F-35 will come. That totally depends. I believe that a 5th generation fighter will only come if Pakistan actually goes ahead with the purchase of the J-35A, because then it will clearly have an edge, a tactical edge over the Indian Air Force, although not a strategic one. You can't do much with 20 or 40 5th generation fighters, but it is very likely that if Pakistan acquires the J-35A, which is our mentality, why we are preparing, I don't know why we see Pakistan and then procure something. We have to see China because they already have 300 stealth fighters, the J-20s, and now they're inducting J-35As. So the Su-57s are strong points. It is, you are going to get sovereign control. It will be a heavier platform, longer range, which IAF desires. The Su-30 fleet is getting old. You need something in that weight category as well. And it also gives you a larger upgrade room. While the F-35, it includes quicker deliveries than the Su-57. F-35's production rate is around 120 aircraft per year, if I'm not wrong. So you can still expect to get them on time. But with Russia, that is unlikely because they are not being able to complete the original Russian Air Force order of 76 Su-57s that was placed in 2022. Till now, they have only delivered like 32 aircraft. So, and the F-35, again, it's a very strong stealth-based platform, albeit it would not be as strong in Indian service because we do not operate the US ecosystem. So I'll make a future video on this as well. Next is the Project 75I submarines. Again, I have made a video on this. The Indian Navy has said that they are expected to sign the deal. They are expecting to sign the deal this year. That is March 2026, this fiscal year, with TKMS. It is around $10 billion, and it will include full tech transfer along with export rights for these submarines. And this will be an advanced variant derived from the Type 212CD or Type 214 submarine. Next is the Air Laura and icebreaker procurement. I know some people laugh at the name Air Laura, but it is an air-launched variant of the Laura quasi-ballistic missile. It is a longer-ranged precision strike missile. Following the Rampage success in Operation Sindoor, Indian Air Force used the Rampage missiles from the Su-30s and Jaguars in Operation Sindoor. So this is a much better version of that, longer range, better electronics. And the Indian Navy also seeks the icebreaker cruise missiles for MH-60R helicopters, although it is not confirmed, but then again, there has been a lot of chatter about it, and it is likely that they're going to procure this. Next again is the General Electric F414 deal. Post the Indo-US trade deal, it is almost confirmed it will be signed by March 2026. Although it was earlier speculated that they were looking to modify the Tejas Mark II with the M88-3. But now I don't think it is going to happen, because that will delay the Mark II program even like 2-3 years more. So it is now more likely post the Indo-US trade deal. Trump wants the money. So to give him the money, again, we are just going to buy the aircraft that we really want to. So the GF414 is supposed to power the Tejas Mark II, the AMCA Mark II and the AMCA Mark I. Wait, the Tejas Mark II, TED-BF Mark I and AMCA Mark I. So 80% manufacturing TOT is to be granted to HAL, with a potential 114 high-thrust GF414 version to be developed later. Not confirmed, could be developed. GE was interested to develop that with HAL, but nothing of that sort is confirmed as of now. Next is the medium transport aircraft. No procurement will be done this year, but IAF will begin evaluation this year. There are 4 contenders: the KC-390, the A400M, the C-130J Hercules, and the C2, the Kawasaki C2. So they are expected to procure around 80 transport aircraft. A conservative number is around 66, which is going to be a replacement for the for the AN32 fleet, along with the Avro HS748 fleet, as well as the C295 will also complement this fleet. So again, the main requirement is that it at least has a weight capacity of 25 tons, which the C-130 is likely to be out, because it cannot carry more than 22 tons. And the requirement is because the Indian Army wants that the Air Force can quickly deploy the Zorawar light tanks to the Chinese border if in case the situation ever arises. Next, we are going to talk about the domestic programs that could be concluded or achieve a large milestone. Again, I have made a video on this, the AMCA prototype contract. 5 contracts to be handed out to 1 or 2 private bidders, and it will ensure the first production flight by 2025, the first prototype by 2029, and around 2037 to 38 for the AMCA Mark II with the indigenous engine. It may face hiccups initially due to the non-involvement of HAL and the lack of experience by the 3 bidders in aerospace development, but the production in the long term should be faster. Next is the Astra Mark II extended range production. So there have been unverified reports that the DRDO reverse engineered the intact Pakistani gifted China supplied PL-15 missiles, and they have found a compound called C-20 from that, which they have put in the Astra Mark II and Astra Mark I, which has increased the range for both missiles by 50 kilometers without making any changes to the footprint of the missile. Not sure if that is true, but DRDO has confirmed that the range would now be 240 kilometers as per the DRDO. So series production is expected to begin by Q2 of this year, with integration with the Su-30s and Tejas if the Tejas has delivered in the first place. But the Su-30s are expected to carry these missiles pretty soon, and this will re-establish Indian A2A dominance in Asia, because the missile is expected to now outrange the PL-15. The Astra Mark II is expected to outrange the PL-15, and meanwhile there are some more procurements of the Meteor missile for the Rafale that will ensure that we temporarily at least have air superiority over Chinese missiles. Not necessarily air superiority, because they have stealth aircraft and better radars, but we will have a better ranged missile, and if we use them properly, we will establish the A2A dominance again. Next is the Astra Mark III development. I should stop calling it Astra. It's actually Astra, which is the Sanskrit word Astra, that is the weapon that you say. So DRDO recently concluded the successful test for the solid fuel ducted ramjet, which is, after France and China, we are the 3rd country to do so. So this ramjet based A2A missile will have a range of around 350 kilometers or more, and this is not like the R-37 that Russia has, which is meant to kill AWACS. This is going to be a proper fighter killer air-to-air missile, which will ensure a large no escape zone, because the range is 350 kilometers anyway. You fire it from 250 kilometers, the enemy aircraft just cannot escape unless they have some really good electronic warfare to just jam the missile. So this is not an enhanced version of the Astra Mark II, the Astra Mark II, as the Mark II was from Mark I, but it will have new electronics, a new seeker, AESA based seeker, and a new radar. Next is the Tejas Mark II first flight. Now I am getting very skeptical about it again and again, because HAL is just not to be trusted. But as per the DRDO chief, Dr. Samir Kamath, he has said that the first flight is expected around Q2. I take it to around Q3 as per my opinion. Although there have been a lot of delays, as I have said, it is likely to be conducted since there are reports that the secret ground rollout has been done. The prototype is complete. They're just probably waiting for the F414 deal to be signed and final ground testing to be done to make the make the aircraft do its first flight. The first full video, I'll make a full video on this once the first flight is conducted, and this is the direct competitor to the J10C, the Gripen E, and the F-16V, and it will be much superior to all three in the long term, because this has been designed as something that can that has 5th generation technologies built in. You'll have very advanced avionics, you'll have a very advanced GaN based, the gallium nitride based Uttam radar, a good electronic warfare suite, and it will have weapons from Israel, from India, from Russia, from France. It will have a very large catalog of missiles. So I'll make a video on this once this is done. And then is the long range hypersonic anti-ship missile LSP. It is likely to begin this year. They have recently conducted trials and it has been successful. This is the hypersonic glide vehicle based missile. So it is more or less a quasi ballistic missile and not a proper cruise missile, but the Indian Navy is looking to induct these by 2029, and it is likely that a limited series production for testing will begin this year itself. Then is the TED-BF design finalization. The Navy chief has said that TED-BF is not going anywhere. They are fully committed to it. So it is likely that ADA will finalize the design this year. It is more or less a mixed design of Tejas Mark II and Rafale M. The weight category will be around Rafale M. So it is a medium weight fighter. It is not a light medium weight fighter like the Tejas Mark II or the Gripen is. So the Navy is pushing for a CCS clearance for a developmental budget of prototypes, and this is also to be powered by the F414s and may change engines later, because the AMC engine is being designed around the F414 footprint. I don't know how good of an idea it is to have 3 of your fighter aircraft programs based on one engine. That is probably, it is not unreliable as an engine, but the partner, the US as a country, is very unreliable in supplies. Next is the third nuclear ballistic missile submarine, INS Aradman. It is expected to be commissioned this year, in fact probably by March. So the fourth submarine, which is the S4 Star, it has also been reported to go into production, and these will likely carry the much advanced and longer range K4 ballistic missiles. The earlier 2 submarines carried the K15 ballistic missiles, the K15 Sagarika, which had a range of around 750 km. Now the K4 missiles will have a range of 3500 km. So it will instantly give us a much larger reach. And there's also variants of the K5 missile and the K6 missile, which are expected to go as high as 8000 to 10,000 km in range, potentially rivaling the Trident 2D5 missiles. They are also in development, and it will take time, but they are also in development. Next is the Arjun Mark 1A and Zorawar induction. So Arjun Mark 1As are to be inducted starting this year, which is the most advanced main battle tank of the Indian Army to date. You can compare it somewhere around to the M1A3 Abrams or the Leopard A2s. Very good tank, does not have an autoloader, but it is much more advanced than the T90 MS or the T72 fleet that we have this year. The Zorawar is also preparing for its final trials and is likely to be serially produced by 2027. Initially, the 400 units are planned for the Indian Army. Next is the Ghatak UCAV and Dry Kaveri. So the first flight, I don't know where it is to be done. I am expecting it around 2037. I could be wrong. Please correct me in the comments. But the Dry Kaveri engine has now been ordered by the Ministry of Defence to complete its full testing in Russia by this year. It is a derivative of the original GTX VS35 Kaveri, which was made for the Tejas Mark 1. But it does not have an afterburner, and it is a more refined version of the original one. This is made to power a stealth UCAV. Next is the GTRE Safran engine for the AMCA. So CCS is likely to approve the initial funding for this engine in around Q2, and the first prototypes are expected to be ready and tested by 2033 and final production by 2037. 10-year timeline, yes, it is long, but engines usually take this long only to make. We are pretty late to make these engines, but again, I think that it is a good step that government has decided to do it with Safran instead of on its own. Otherwise it might have become a mistake again, but Safran has experience in metallurgy, FADEC controls, so they would be able to give a good input, and we are already expecting to receive 100% technology transfer and export rights. It is going to be shared IP and shared export rights for this engine. So yeah. Now, some deals that are likely not to be done this year. Third aircraft carrier, which is either a repeat order of Vikrant or the super carrier Vishal. Not expected this year because the Navy is right now more focused on the submarines, the Project 75I and Project 76 and Project 77, the nuclear attack submarines. So funding is expected for those. I do believe that the Project 76 design will clear this year, and they might release an RFP to produce the 12 submarines this year. But I do not think that the aircraft carrier is likely to be done this year because we do not have naval aviation for the aircraft carriers. If we induct a third one, you'll either have to retire the Vikram Aditya or you will have to sail one carrier empty because you don't have enough aircraft. The MiG-29 case cannot sustain for a long period of time. And the Rafale M, you cannot just keep importing Rafale M. TED BF is pretty far. So I don't think the aircraft carrier is likely to be coming to have some deal signed this year. Then the Project 17B, it is likely to be cleared for procurement this year, but I don't think the first keel would be laid this year. It is going to move ahead, but I don't believe that the frigates would start getting constructed by this year itself. Then more S-400 orders were planned by the Indian Air Force, but because the existing order from 2018 has not been fulfilled by Almazante, I do not believe that they are looking forward to ordering more till the original order is complete. And as is the Kusha project Kusha is also in development, and the first version is likely to roll out by 2030. Then the Chakra 3 Akola class nuclear attack submarine, it is also not to be delivered this year. It has more or less been delayed to 2028, even though the original deal was the lease agreement was signed in 2021. That has also made it a bigger problem because the Indian crews have to be trained on nuclear attack submarines before you begin to field the indigenous Project 77 submarines. And then the RFPs for minesweepers, next generation corvettes, anti-surface warfare corvettes and Project 18 destroyer likely would be issued this year. Project 18 is almost completing its design cycle, and since it is around 15,000 tons, I don't call it a destroyer. I think it's more or less a cruiser. They're just using the destroyer term to not make it sound like a capital ship. So I don't think any contract signing or construction is to happen for these ships. So final thoughts. I think this year is more heavily focused on the Air Force because the Air Force has been neglected for a long time. After 2016, they have not signed any deals. Post the Rafale, they have signed the Tejas deal, but HAL as always have failed to deliver. General Electric has failed to give engines. The Navy is also a lot more in focus. I think the Army is more or less to be stagnant this year. They are focusing more on their Shaktiban battalions, the Bhairav battalions, to build a hybrid warfare system. So I don't think any large capital procurement for the Army is on the cards this year. They have inducted the Suryastra, which is an Israeli 300 kilometer range rocket launcher. Other than that, I don't think anything large is planned for the Army. I hope I get surprised later on. So yeah, that was all from my side. Do let me know in the comments if I missed anything. So thank you all for watching. It's been a pleasure, and I have seen a lot of views rising on my channel. I really appreciate it. So thank you all for watching, and I shall see you all in the next video. Take care and Jai Hind.